Modern discourse often describes the church as a loose, invisible fellowship, a scattered network of people who share a personal relationship with Jesus. However, the original Greek word used throughout the New Testament points to a different reality. That word is ekklesia. In ancient Greek society, an ekklesia was a formally convened, organized assembly of citizens gathered in a public space to conduct town business. When the authors of the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, chose a word for the Hebrew qahal, they specifically selected ekklesia. That Hebrew concept denoted the entire physical community of Israel, formally and visibly gathered by God for a sacred purpose. The root linguistics of the Bible demand a highly organized, visible society. To find the institution that fits this definition, we have to analyze the specific blueprint Jesus left behind. Formal organizations, like a nation-state or a corporation, require objective boundaries to determine who is a member and who is not. Scripture presents the doorway into this assembly as a visible physical act, the sacrament of baptism. Once inside, the assembly functions as a structured body with distinct roles, ranging from apostles and prophets to teachers and administrators. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus uses the term ekklesia to establish a supreme earthly leader for this structured society. This mosaic depicts St. Peter holding the keys of the kingdom. In the Davidic kingdom, the king's chief steward carried the keys to govern in his absence. By using this imagery, Jesus installed Peter as earthly leader. Governing offices and a perpetual succession of leaders serve a clear purpose. They maintain the unity of a visible, historical institution across time. A sovereign institution also requires a functioning judicial branch capable of enforcing its laws and settling disputes. In Matthew 18, Jesus shares the power to bind and loose with the church's hierarchy. This granted the legislative power to create laws and the judicial authority to pronounce doctrinal judgments. Jesus then details a specific judicial procedure for dealing with unrepentant sinners who refuse to follow the assembly standards. The ultimate consequence of this procedure is excommunication. If a sinner refuses to listen to the church, Jesus instructs the assembly to treat them as an outsider. Excommunication requires a visible boundary. It is impossible to cast someone out of an entity that has no identifiable membership. This visible structure led the Apostle Paul to call the Ekklesia the pillar and bulwark of the truth, describing an infallible guide that believers can look to for direction. The Bible records that this institution first became known as Christian in the city of Antioch. This grounded the theological blueprint in a real historical location. History records a direct line of leadership in that city. The Apostle Peter founded the church in Antioch and appointed Evodius as its first bishop. When Ignatius succeeded Evodius around AD 107, he used the Greek phrase katholike ekklesia, or universal assembly. He used this name to identify the one worldwide society established by Jesus, distinguishing it from local sects that had broken away. This chain of apostolic succession and the specific executive office of the Papacy connect that ancient universal assembly directly to the modern Catholic Church. From its inception, the biblical ekklesia was architected to be a concrete, historical, and universal reality, a highly visible city set on a hill.